On 17th of December 2024, a bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha which has now caused a political battle in India.
One nation, one election.
जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ कहें.
This bill is said to be so game-changing, so transformative and so controversial that the government calls it the biggest reform in Indian electoral history. While the BJP says that it will boost India's GDP by nearly 5 lakh crores, the opposition calls it an attempt to weaken democracy and set India on a path to dictatorship. This bill is the One Nation, One Election bill.
This bill will finish off regional parties. This bill is only brought in to massage the ego of the supreme leader.
इनको लगता है कि प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी पर के प्रचार से ये पूरे ये भारत के चुनाव को छीनेंगे तो हम ये चोरी नहीं होने देंगे.
आज है वन इलेक्शन वन नेशन, फिर होगा वन नेशन वन पार्टी और फिर होगा वन नेशन वन लीडर.
It is not an election reforms. It is just a fulfillment of one gentleman's desire and dream. Nothing more than that.
And while the political parties fight over this bill, most of our media is busy turning this debate into a TRP circus. So, we decided to read through some detailed research papers, reports by the government, and most importantly, the articles criticizing this policy so that we can cut through the chaos and help you understand what is this One Nation, One Election bill, how will it actually work, will it really save us money or is it just a political gimmick, why is the entire opposition calling it a threat to democracy, and finally, we are here to decode, is this really a masterstroke by the BJP or a threat to democracy as the opposition claims?
One nation, one election.
It's one of the BJP's distractions.
Is the One Nation, One Election bill feasible for India?
One nation, one election. ये नई बात नहीं.
एक देश एक चुनाव समझ में नहीं.
But before we move on with the episode, I want to quickly thank the partner of today's episode, which is Odoo. People running and growing a business can be overwhelming. You've got sales, inventory, customer support, accounting, each managed through a different tool or software. Every day, you are juggling multiple platforms, switching between spreadsheets and manually inputting data. Not only that, but you're also paying for each software subscription, which sums up to a big amount. Now imagine if all of this was integrated and simplified into a single platform. And here's where Odoo can help you out. Odoo offers over 45 easy-to-use applications that cover every aspect of your business, from CRM to sales to invoicing to project management to inventory to HR and much more. It provides tools tailored to all industries, whether you are a small or a large business. It integrates all of its business applications together on a single platform, so you don't have to juggle between external tools or disconnected software. Odoo's applications work together flawlessly, reducing common errors. For example, your sales data is directly linked to accounting and inventory management, providing a real-time overview of your business. Odoo grows with your business, allowing you to easily add new applications as your company expands. And you know what? The best part is, the first application on Odoo is free for life with unlimited hosting and support. And you also get a free custom domain for a year. You can have all the apps at just 580 rupees per month per user. So if you want to grow your business effortlessly, check out Odoo from the link in the description and download Odoo now. And now, on with the episode. Let's start with the basics. The One Nation, One Election bill is a proposal to synchronize all elections in India such that the Lok Sabha elections and the state assembly elections all happen at the same time every 5 years. Whereas if you look at our election system right now, we literally have multiple elections every single year. For example, in 2024, we first had the Lok Sabha elections.
पूरी दुनिया जानती है कि मोदी सरकार की हैट्रिक बनने जा रही है.
Then immediately after the Lok Sabha elections, we saw elections happen in Jammu and Kashmir, Haryana, Maharashtra and Jharkhand. And all these elections happened in different months of the year. Apart from that, there are again local body elections for multiple municipalities and panchayats which keep happening somewhere in the country. So in India, there is always an election happening somewhere or the other. Now this begs the question, what exactly is the problem with elections happening every few months and why does the BJP intend to change it?
Well, let's get together and sort of have elections together. One India, let's change the name of India. It's all distraction. We know it, we understand it, and we're not going to let them do it.
Well, the first problem that the BJP argues about is governance disruption. You see, every time India enters election mode, something invisible but devastating keeps happening. The governance of India actually comes to a grinding halt. Why? Because every election triggers something called the Model Code of Conduct. The Model Code of Conduct is a set of rules designed to ensure fair elections in India. But in this process, it hits the pause button on policy making and halts critical development projects. So during this time, no government projects or schemes can be inaugurated or announced. And here's the shocking part. This pause doesn't just last days, it stretches into months.
कि देश ने बार-बार चुनाव इस देश की प्रगति में रुकावट बन रहे हैं, गतिरोध पैदा कर रहे हैं। आज कोई भी योजना को चुनाव के साथ जोड़ देना आसान हो गया है, क्योंकि हर 3 महीने 6 महीने कहीं न कहीं चुनाव चल रहा है। कोई भी योजना जाहिर करोगे आप तो मीडिया में देखेंगे, चुनाव आया तो फलाना हो गया, चुनाव आया तो फलाना हो गया। हर काम को चुनाव के रंग से रंग दिया गया।
With the elections happening at different levels, national, state and local, this pause repeats itself over and over again. In fact, in 2017, two economists, Vivek Debroy and Kishore Desai, actually uncovered a startling truth. They discovered that governance and development activities were suspended for 7 months due to the Model Code of Conduct, 3 months nationwide for the Lok Sabha elections and 4 months for 4 state elections. That's over half a year where nothing moved forward. And this pause has consequences that you can actually measure and see for yourself. Public investment during this time slows down, and funds that are meant for your schools, hospitals and roads, they get stuck in a limbo. In fact, with elections happening at different levels, national, state and local, this pause repeats itself over and over again. In Maharashtra, if you combine the days spent on campaigns, polling and governance paralysis, the state loses about 300 days during the 5-year tenure. So can you imagine, 300 days is nearly 1 full year where the progress slows down. Secondly, the elections are incredibly expensive. The 2019 Lok Sabha elections alone cost 60,000 crores. And add to this the cost of holding multiple state and local body elections separately, the bill becomes enormous. And for each elections, security forces, schools and administrative systems are overburdened. Thirdly, there are administrative hurdles. Every time elections are held, essential services take a hit. Police, teachers and local officials are actually pulled away from their duties, and schools turn into polling stations. Police and paramilitary forces leave their posts, and local officials are busy with election work. And all of this put together, it delays essential services for the people of India. And lastly, with the elections happening every few months, the politicians are more focused on the elections than core governance. These are the problems in the existing system, because of which the BJP now proposes the One Nation, One Election bill.
One Nation, One Election पर काम कर रहे हैं, जो भारत के लोकतंत्र को मजबूती देगा, जो भारत के संसाधनों का ऑप्टिमम आउटकम देगा और देश विकसित भारत के सपने को पार करने में और नई गति प्राप्त करेगा.
In fact, to put that into perspective, the government has even published an entire paper on how it will boost India's GDP by 1.5% or add about 4.5 lakh crores to our GDP. That's almost half of what we spend on healthcare and 1/3 of our education budget. And it doesn't stop there. The study has shown that during simultaneous elections, inflation decreases by 1%, government expenditure shoots up by 18%, and investments in the economy increases by 0.5%. I'll attach this paper in the description so that you can understand the nuances of the government's argument. So overall, if you see, this is fantastic, right? The government will function for more days, politicians will be more focused on governance, and the administration can focus on their core task rather than election duties. This, along with thousands of crores in savings, makes it a perfect bill to be passed, right? Then the question is, why is the opposition against the One Nation, One Election bill? Are they opposing the bill just for the sake of opposing the BJP, or do they really have some valid arguments to make?
तो उसको नहीं मानते, ये नहीं चलने वाला है, ये डेमोक्रेसी को टिकाना है
तो जब जब चाहिए तब इलेक्शन करना पड़ेगा।
It is not at all practical in this country.
One nation, one election कुछ नहीं, एक शगुफा है असल मुद्दों से भटकाने का।
It's one of the BJP's distraction strategies.
One nation, one election, one nation. अरे हमको क्या मिलेगा one election की 10 election की 12 election?
Well, I'm so happy to say this that the opposition really has some very, very valid points that we must take into consideration. And regardless of what your political inclination is, my only kind request is please think about what is good for the country and not who is presenting these points. So, if you have an open mind, let's dive into these challenges. The first challenge is constitutional and legal hurdles in executing the One Nation, One Election bill. You see, India's democracy runs on federal structure where the center and state operate independently. So synchronizing elections would demand a massive constitutional overhaul. You know what we have to do? The government would need to dissolve all state assemblies where each of them have a different tenure, and we have to align them with the Lok Sabha elections. But how do we do it? Do we force state assemblies to collapse before the tenure ends, or do we impose president's rule where the center takes control of the states? Both these scenarios are dangerous, and just to make this work, we would need to rewrite at least 5 constitutional articles, which are Article 83, 85, 172, 174 and 356. And here's the catch. At least 50% of the states must approve these changes. Think about it. In a deeply divided political system like India, can this ever happen smoothly? So the question that the opposition is asking is that, are we prepared to force unity by undermining the spirit of our constitution? Think about it. The second problem is the overlapping national and state issues. You see, India isn't just one nation, it's a patchwork of diverse states, cultures and issues. And yet, under One Nation, One Election, national narratives might just overshadow regional voices. In fact, when elections are synchronized, studies show that there is a 77% chance that the voter would choose the same party for both center and the state. For example, in 2014, the BJP swept the Lok Sabha elections with a national wave. And during the Haryana Assembly elections, which were held later that year, local issues like unemployment and farmer distress were overshadowed by the Modi wave, which helped BJP dominate again.
The Congress has been completely decimated in its stronghold of Haryana, and for the BJP, the Modi wave still intact in the state as the Saffron Party crosses the halfway mark very comfortably.
Similarly, in Tamil Nadu, regional parties like DMK and AIDMK dominate state politics because they focus on issues like the Kaveri water dispute and Thoothukkudi's copper plant dispute.
It is shocking to us. There is no water, how to bring water, how to release water. It is very difficult.
Karnataka is not the owner of Kaveri. That is the international understanding. Nobody can claim that this river is mine.
But if the elections align with the national cycle, these concerns risk being drowned out by larger national issues like national security or inflation. For example, in 2019, the BJP ran a centralized campaign on national security and Prime Minister Modi's image after the Balakot strikes. And the result? The BJP won 303 seats nationally. But states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala rejected BJP because they wanted their parties to focus on state-level issues like education and farmer distress. So when national elections and state elections merge, what will happen? The bigger parties with massive resources will flood every street with their slogans, and suddenly the concerns of a farmer in Punjab, a weaver in Tamil Nadu or a fisherman in Kerala will no longer make headlines. Why? Because local voices are no match for a roaring, well-funded national campaign. So the opposition presents an argument that if national parties dominate every election, what happens to that delicate balance of power? Will Tamil Nadu still have the strength to oppose the policies that will harm the farmers? And will the Adivasis of Jharkhand and Odisha still find leaders who champion their struggles? Or will these voices be forgotten under the weight of a national campaign? This is the second argument that the opposition presents. The third argument says that frequent elections, even though costly, ensure that the governments remain accountable to the people throughout their term. And the classic example of the same is Uttar Pradesh. You see, even though Yogi ji won in 2022, in the 2024 Lok Sabha election, voters expressed their dissatisfaction, which caused the BJP seats to drop from 62 in 2019 to 33.
In 2019, the BJP swept it. They swept UP and they won 62 out of the 80 seats. But this time, the BJP slipped up.
This shows how voters use elections to express their anger mid-term and how they choose a different party during the state and central elections. But if the elections are held only once for both state and center every 5 years, the voters will not have a chance to show their dissatisfaction. So the opposition argues that we might achieve efficiency, but we might compromise on accountability. So the question is, when the one nation, one election policy has so many logistical challenges, how does the BJP intend to align 1 billion people, 28 states, hundreds of local bodies and decades of tradition into a single synchronized system? Well, the BJP has a plan, a phased plan that is expected to transform the way India votes forever. And this is what it says. Phase 1 is about synchronizing Lok Sabha and state assembly elections. Imagine this: one election, one booth, but 2 votes. During this election, every Indian will walk into a polling station and cast not 1 but 2 votes. One for their MP to decide who runs the central government, another for their MLA to decide who governs their state. It is said to be simple, efficient, and most importantly, it is expected to save a lot of time, money, and efforts. But this is only the beginning. Phase 2 is proposed to bring local body elections into the system. So Phase 2 aims to bring even the smallest elections in the same cycle. So this includes the panchayats, the municipalities and the corporations. These elections will take place within 100 days of the Lok Sabha and state assembly polls. And at the end of this journey, the BJP says that India will witness something that it has never seen before: a perfectly synchronized election calendar for the entire country. But before you think this is simple, I have to tell you that nothing in politics is either simple or efficient. And just like every other policy, there is one big problem with the implementation of the one nation, one election policy. You see, implementing this plan isn't just about aligning ideas. It's about overcoming decades of political chaos, ensuring fairness, and most importantly, it's about resetting the system without breaking it. And to truly understand this, you need to understand 4 critical concepts: full term, unexpired term, general elections, and mid-term elections. And trust me, these terms may sound dry and technical, but don't worry, I will make them very simple for you. So let's get started. Let's start with full term and general elections. So here's the ideal scenario. In 2024, you elect your Lok Sabha MP and your state MLA. Both the central and state governments begin their journeys together and serve their full 5-year terms until 2029. And then in 2029, voters come back and cast their votes again and the cycle resets. So it's smooth and perfect. But as usual, in politics, nothing is smooth and nothing is perfect. And when things go wrong, we will see unexpired term and mid-term elections come up. So imagine this. It's 2024 and Maharashtra's new government starts with its 5-year term, which is supposed to last until December 2029. But then a political crisis hits and the government collapses in 2027. This leaves 2 years of the term unfulfilled. Now, this period of 2 unfulfilled years is called the unexpired term. And to fill this void, the midterm elections will be held. Now, here's the crucial part. This new government that has been elected in 2027 will not get a fresh 5-year term. Instead, they will serve only the remaining 2 years until 2029 just to align with the original election cycle. So this rule ensures that no matter what happens, the election system resets every 5 years. But this begs another big question. The real challenge in the present scenario is to reset the current election cycles, because elections for different states and the Lok Sabha as of now do not align at all. So Karnataka's term will end in 2028, Delhi will hold elections in 2030, and the Lok Sabha's term will end in 2029. So how on earth do we bring all these elections onto the same goddamn calendar? And this is where, ladies and gentlemen, the BJP has proposed a one-time transition phase to bring order to this chaos. And here's how the BJP plans to align every election step by step. Firstly, we will have the appointment date. For example, on 1st of May 2029, the entire country would vote in the general elections and a brand new Lok Sabha will be sworn in. This is when the president will issue an official notification declaring this day as the appointment date. From this day forward, a special rule will come into play where the terms of all state assemblies will align with the Lok Sabha's 5-year term. So here's how it will work. Karnataka will hold its elections in 2029 instead of 2028. So Karnataka's term will automatically extend by 1 year to perfectly sync with the Lok Sabha. Similarly, Delhi holds the election in 2030. So normally its term would run until 2030. But this time, Delhi's term will end 1 year earlier in 2029 itself to again align with the Lok Sabha. So this way, some states will see their term end earlier while some states will see an extension to their term. So no matter when a state election happens, its term will reset to end with the Lok Sabha's term. And now, if the Lok Sabha or the State Assembly is dissolved before its term ends, a mid-term election will be held and the newly elected government will only serve the remaining unexpired term. So no matter how unpredictable Indian politics gets, the system will reset itself every 5 years. This is how the BJP envisions that by 2034, India will witness something truly revolutionary. Every single Indian, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Mumbai to Manipur, will cast their votes in the same election cycle for both the Lok Sabha and for every state assembly. So for the first time in history, India will have a fully synchronized election system, a system that saves resources, eliminates political distraction, and gives government a clear mandate to govern for 5 years. But you know what, guys? I see one very big problem over here. Under this new system, if a state government collapses midterm, fresh elections will elect a government that serves the short term, which will last only 1 or 2 years. So, if Maharashtra's government collapses in 2027, the new government will only serve for 2 years. Now, you tell me, why would this party in power focus on long-term reforms when they know that they are on a borrowed tenure? So, would these governments focus on performance, or would they simply scramble for political survival? And more importantly, will a government running on borrowed time prioritize bold long-term reforms that benefit the people, or will they resort to quick fix populism and freebies? Think about it. They will try to survive the next elections, right? And this way, if governance becomes about short-term survival, who really pays the price? It is undoubtedly the people, the progress, and the very future of the state. This is my argument against the One Nation, One Election Bill. So in summary, here's what we have to think about the One Nation, One Election Bill. Number one, synchronizing elections could bring efficiency and national unity, but we risk silencing regional voices as a national wave might overshadow local issues. Number two, simultaneous elections may allow voters to focus on broader national level priorities like infrastructure, defense, and economic reforms, but critical state-specific problems like farmer distress and water disputes, they might lose attention if national narratives dominate. Number three, reducing elections to once every 5 years would ensure that the governments have uninterrupted stability to implement long-term policies. But we have to remember that frequent elections ensure constant accountability, giving voters the power to punish non-performing governments mid-term. Number 4. By aligning terms, the system ensures that elections remain synchronized regardless of the mid-term crisis. But we must remember that a government serving a short term of 1 or 2 years might lack the incentive to implement long-term reforms. So they might just focus on short-term political gains, which could drain the economy of a particular state. And lastly, the Model Code of Conduct ensures elections remain fair and free of undue government influence. But reforming the Model Code of Conduct could prevent policy paralysis without the massive expense and disruption of implementing the One Nation, One Election policy. So the ultimate question is, when something can be fixed with a minor tweak in the Model Code of Conduct, why should we risk disrupting the entire election system and spend 10,000 crores? These are the questions that we need to think about as the One Nation, One Election Bill moves through the parliament. And I just hope you learned something valuable and insightful from this case study. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to share this video with your friends and family so that they have a deeper understanding of something so important in the country. And if you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube ever happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.